This is a special presentation of WAAY 31 Sports. WAAY 31, your home for high school football.
It's the McCurry Big Game Friday night. Hello, Alabama, find a comfortable spot. We got high school football and it's coming out high. Now here we are and the lights are shining bright. Yeah, WAAY 31 is rocking all right. With Nolan, Max, Xavier, and Antonio. It's the McCurry Band and Coronal Big Game Friday night.
It's a DeKalb County showdown. Fife puts its perfect season on the line against Sylvania in our big game Friday night game of the week.
Well, in a rivalry game of the week, it's a Madison City private school matchup. Westminster Christian takes the short trip to Madison Academy in both teams' final game of the year. Hello and welcome into Big Game Friday night, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. It's the final week of the regular season and bragging rights are on the line.
Many of the state's playoff spots have already been filled, so this week is all about playing a good, clean game of football to prepare for the postseason.
Yeah, and that's exactly what the Fife Red Devils were hoping to do tonight, welcoming Sylvania to town for our Week 10, a Big Game Friday night game of the week. And our own Xavier WAAY was on the sidelines for this one.
It's the final regular season matchup for both Sylvania and Fife. This is no longer a region matchup, and there are no playoff implications at stake. Both teams will be hosting a playoff game next week. But history is at stake here tonight. If Fife wins, they will set a new Alabama record for 12 consecutive 10-win seasons. Sylvania would love to spoil that history-making opportunity and prove that they are championship caliber by beating Fife, something they haven't done since 2005. This is our big game Friday night game of the week. It's a DeKalb County rivalry featuring the 7-2 Sylvania Rams and the 9-0 Fife Red Devils. And on the first play of the game, Rams quarterback Jackson Smith takes the snap and he finds Joshua Scott. Those two would be locked in together the entire first half. And just 2 plays later, Smith connects with Scott again, except this time no Red Devils defender can catch him. And a minute and 12 seconds into the game, the Rams go up 7-0. And after a few empty possessions, the Red Devils would march down the field and watch Logan Anderson take the direct snap and find his way into the end zone to tie the game at 7 apiece. But the Rams had an answer. Smith is going to air this one towards the sideline, and he's going to find Griffin Haygood for the big first down, which led to yet another Smith and Scott connection, giving his 6'5" wideout a jump ball opportunity, and there's nothing Fife can do about it here. Rams go up 14-7, but Fife would not go away. Blake Dobbins finds a wide open Hunter Macon, who walks into the end zone untouched for an easy Red Devils touchdown. Both teams would head into the locker room tied at 14 apiece. It was a tale of two halves in this one. Fife came out and dominated the third and fourth quarter, winning 35-14. And I'm with Fife's head man, Coach Paul Benefield. Coach, you all finished this year with an undefeated season, 10-0. What did it take to get to this point this year?
Well, you know, this right here was the toughest game, and I knew it was going to be, but Sylvania played great. Coach Van didn't do a great job, and it was a fight till the end, and that's the kind of thing we needed going into the playoffs. You know, may have a couple of people beat up, but otherwise, good football game, physical, so we're just proud to come out ahead.
Coach, during your time here, you all have been absolutely dominant, and I don't know if you know this or not, but you all have just set a new Alabama record for 12 consecutive 10-win seasons. What does that mean to you?
Well, it means a lot. I said it last week that it means consistency, and that we did it with a lot of different kids, and you know, those guys ought to be proud because they contributed to it too. But you know, a state record like that means something to me because it's a team record.
The final score in this one is 35-14. Fife defeats Sylvania, and again, for the first time in Alabama history, a team has 12 consecutive 10-win seasons, and that record now belongs to the Fife Red Devils. Reporting in DeKalb County, Xavier WAAY, WAAY 31 Sports.
So there you have it. The Red Devils remain undefeated, and they now turn their attention to Red Bay in the first round of the playoffs. Another team looking to remain undefeated this year is the Hartzell Tigers.
Yeah, Hartzell has won 22 straight regular season games, and tonight they welcome Bob Jones to town to finish out their regular season before their playoff matchup with Briarwood next week. And with that perfect season on the line, the Tigers came to play. Jack Smith is a quarterback, but he was showing off the legs tonight, making one cut through the Patriots' front lines, and he's through enemy territory and into the end zone. Hartzell touchdown right there. But as I said, Smith is a quarterback, and here's why. They're going to go to the play action pass, and everyone is fooled. He shows off the cannon. Isaiah Fletcher has the separation, and the lethal connection is back in business. The Tigers go on to win this one 38-31, clinching back-to-back perfect regular seasons.
Yeah, speaking of 7A schools taking on 6A schools, the Huntsville Panthers, hot off their playoff clinching win over Austin, hit the road to take on Hazel Green to finish up their regular season. And it was an awesome atmosphere at Hazel Green tonight. But this Huntsville team came to play on the road. Jack McClung back to pass, lost one up for Cameron White. He comes down with it for the early score, and the Panthers, they kept their foot on the gas. McClung fires to Rodarius Hardy. He brings it down, but the defender draped all over him, and that would lead to this. McClung drops back, hits his tight end. He's gonna come down with it. The 6'5", 205 big man Alexander Moore hauls it in for 6. But Hazel Green wasn't gonna lie down without a fight. How about Griffin Fowler letting one fly on this next play? It's gonna be Naaman Granberry who finds himself all alone behind the defense for 6. In the end, though, Huntsville takes this one 63-7. Next up, Huntsville, they'll hit the road to take on the state's best in Thompson. While Hazel Green, they're prepared to take on Muscle Shoals in the first round of the playoffs. In the last 6A, 7A matchup, Grissom was hosting Buckhorn tonight in the final game of their season, and the Bucks were hoping to take some momentum into the postseason. Shamarion Landrum gets things going early on that drive, but it would stall, and Grissom would go to work. Javion Roscoe takes this handoff, makes a couple of defenders miss to pick up a Grissom first down, and then they would extend a 3-point lead with this one. Tariq Daxton on the end around. He makes one guy miss. No one stops in. He's in for the score, and the Tigers extend a lead, but Buckhorn would try to respond before the break, but there's a fumble. Kenneth Long snags it out of the air. He's headed the other way, putting the Tigers in great field position, but that wouldn't last long. Bobby Patterson picks it off. Cohen Fielder steps in front of that pass. He's the one that intercepts it, and he's the one that's going to take it all the way to the house. The Tigers, they, however, win this one in a close game, 34-31.
Here's how 7A standings finished up. That season is over. Austin claimed home field advantage in the postseason, as did Florence. Well, how about we talk about some playoff-type matchups? That was the scenario in Decatur tonight, where the Red Raiders were taking on Scottsboro in a non-region matchup before both teams turned their attention to the postseason. But first, rule number 1, keep your eye on the ball. Luckily, Decatur's Mac Hollis knows that one, and he follows it up with the high snap right there and keeps it out of the end zone. Unfortunately, falling on top of it wouldn't stop the Wildcats from taking over, and Jaden Gilbert takes the toss to the outside, finds the express lane to the end zone. Touchdown Wildcats, but they're still down 2, so they need to go for the 2-point conversion, and Thomas Rackler gets it done to tie the game at 14. Scottsboro would play some solid defense to keep things interesting, but in the end, the Red Raiders grind out a victory, 17-14 the final. Russellville, another 5A school ready for the playoffs. They finished off their regular season tonight against the Athens Golden Eagles, and Athens wins it by 1 point, but don't worry, next week the Golden Tigers will take on Boaz in round 1 of the 5A playoffs. All right, well, let's go ahead and take this time to call our first time out of the show, but don't go anywhere, because when we're coming back, we're talking big game, Friday night rivalry game of the week.
Stay tuned for more Big Game Friday night.
It's the McCurry Big Game Friday night. Alabama Curry Big Game Friday night.
Welcome back into Big Game Friday night, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. We had some playoff-type atmospheres throughout the state to finish out the regular season.
Yeah, that's right. Like our Big Game Friday night rivalry game of the week, where the Westminster Christian Wildcats made the short trip to Madison Academy to finish out their regular season. We were expecting a big score in this one, and that's what we got. We pick up with Westminster in the red zone, and they're going to get going with an answer to an early Madison Academy score. How about Brandon Bush connecting with Owen Lockett to tie things up? The Mustangs would answer right back. It's going to be Mario Brewer who takes the quick pass, and to quote the great Freddie Mercury, "Don't stop me now." He brings it all the way home for the long touchdown reception, and the Mustangs, they would never take the foot off the gas. This next time, it's Kenyon Cherry who's going to take a handoff for another Madison Academy score as they take this one on senior night in lopsided fashion, 49-14. Next up for the Wildcats, they'll take on West Morgan in the playoffs, while Madison Academy will host Phil Campbell to start their playoff campaign. Let's head out to a Madison Academy where Antonio McBeth was on the sidelines.
Madison Academy entered tonight on a big winning streak. However, they had one more puzzle to solve, and that puzzle was Westminster Christian's offense, led by quarterback Brandon Bush. They've scored a ton of points all season. In fact, they've only been held under 43 points one other time this year, but Madison Academy was able to hold them to their lowest point total of the year with 14 points, and that's how we got started. The offense for Madison Academy was able to put up 49 points, and that includes 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter after a really awkward third quarter that had a lot of stoppages of play. I caught up with Madison Academy coach Bob Gotze to see how his team was able to get it done. Here with Madison Academy coach Bob Gotze. Coach, you guys started the season off losing your first 2 and are now on a 7-game win streak. What was your message to the team to get them to refocus going into region play?
Well, I think that's 8 games.
8 games, there you go.
Well, I said all along, we had a young team, and it's going to be a good team in the end. I thought tonight would be a good measuring stick to see, especially defensively, just because we play so many young guys. And I'm very proud of our guys, how hard we played. It's obvious that we've improved, but we got to continue. It gets for real now. I'm extremely proud of our guys. Our assistant coaches have done an outstanding job. This group never blinked, they never failed. They just knew we had to get some things fixed and grow up, and that's what we tried to do.
And finally, Coach, 7-8, doesn't matter. It's a lot of wins in a row, and you got another test coming up soon. What is your message to the guys in the locker room right after this?
It'll be the same thing. It's about us. It's about, being disciplined. It's about, great effort. It's about unity, and it's about being a little bit tough. And we've preached that since day one. These guys have bought into that, and we'll continue to preach it because everybody's 0-0 now. It doesn't matter what we've done. We got to come out and do it next week.
Well, Coach, thank you so much, and enjoy it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Once again, Antonio McBeth live from Madison Academy, where your final score was Mustangs 49, Wildcats 14.
And speaking of rivalry matchups, there isn't one as old as this next one.
Albertville and Guntersville have played each other a total of 107 times and made it 108 tonight. So we join the action of the state's oldest rivalry early in the first. Aggies putting on the pressure on defense. Julian Jordan on the toss and fumbles it away. Anthony Hollis picks it up for the Wildcats, and it's still scoreless in the first. Albertville's Reese Knight back to pass, and he's going to want this one back. John McElrath picks him off deep in their own territory, and now it's Guntersville's chance in the red zone. Eli Morrison scrambling, runs, jumps, and throws, hitting Cam Logan for a Wildcat touchdown, but Morrison wasn't done yet. It was a busy first quarter for him. He drops back and hits Evan Taylor for another Wildcat score. This time it puts them up 13. That's the end of the season for the Aggies, while Guntersville now shifts their attention to Fairview.
Yeah, and speaking of Fairview, the Aggies were on the road tonight taking on Randolph in a matchup between 2 teams that have state championship dreams on their mind. And both of these teams have offenses that can move the ball, and that's what we saw early on. How about Andrew Hunter on senior night showing off the legs, picking up a big first down here with his feet. But Fairview would stall the drive as Andrew Hunter back to pass, ball pops free, Jolt Redding picks it up. He's headed the other way, but the Aggies offense would end up coughing up the football on their possession, and Randolph would go to work. Handoff to Nick Strong. The senior makes a couple of tacklers miss. This sets up Randolph with the fresh set of downs, and so they go back to Strong again, and you know what he's going to do. Breaks another tackle. He's into the end zone. Randolph jumps out to an early lead as the Raiders get a big win on senior night tonight over the Aggies, 34-14.
Another playoff-type matchup took place at West Morgan tonight. The Rebels hoping to build on an 8-1 season and welcoming in a Haleyville team that they've never played before. Tonight, the Lions are the only thing standing in the way of the Rebels' first 9-win season since 2017, and they wanted it bad. On the first play from scrimmage, Jalen Fletcher takes the handoff and shows off, exploding out of the backfield for a huge gain. West Morgan would drive all the way down to the goal line, and on 4th down, they decide to roll the dice. Direct snap to Antonio Townsend, and the Rebels are off and rolling. But the Lions clawed back with a score of their own, but went for 2 and did not convert. So West Morgan is still ahead when they score again. This time, it's Fletcher finishing the job himself. He gets blasted on his way into the end zone, but Haleyville is just getting frustrated. It would only get worse for them, though. Forced to punt, Townsend rounds the corner and blocks it as the Rebels take over again. West Morgan can now say they're undefeated against the Lions with a 55-38 win. And at Rogers tonight, the region-winning Lexington Bears were hoping to build on their impressive season with a win over their biggest rivals. The 61st meeting all-time between these teams, and the Bears were driving early. They get the ball way inside the 10, but Rogers would make a stand, and they get their scoring offense going. Brock Killen on the end around, and this man's got some wheels, picking up a first down here, and then they would convert that into points. Darby Clemens takes the handoff, and he's got a hole, and he's got 6. Rogers gets on the board with a nice run, but Lexington would have an answer. It's James Lard on the triple option. He elects to keep this one and sets up Lexington in great field positioning, and they would convert that one. Lard to Zach Turner, and he's got a score. This game was back and forth throughout the night, but it's Rogers on top, 35-18. Well, it's time that we go ahead and call our second timeout of the night.
Yeah, but coming up next on Big Game Friday night, we head to Wilson. The Warriors square off with Lawrence County to finish out their season.
Stay tuned for more Big Game Friday night.
It's the McCurry Big Game Friday night. It's the McCurry Big Game Friday night.
This is the Fife Red Devil Marching Band, and you're watching Big Game Friday night on WAAY 31.
All right, congratulations to the Fife High School Marching Band for being named this week's Flow Trampoline Park Spirit Award winners.
The Fife Marching Band consists of 33 members and have earned superior ratings at their competitions this year. They do a great job of making the atmosphere at Red Devil games awesome.
All right, getting back to some football now. The Wilson Warriors and Lawrence County Red Devils have had a tough season this year, but a win to end the year is so important as you look towards next season.
Yeah, so out in the Shoals, Lawrence County and Wilson in action. And right off the bat, we've got trouble for the Red Devils. Looks like someone got into the Butterfingers before Halloween. Fumble Ruski on the handoff, and this one's going to be picked up by the Warriors. Wilson wouldn't waste this trip. Riley Putnam says this is how it's done, running it right up the gut and into Pater. Touchdown on that play. Well, I guess it's team policy to get a hug after. Anyway, they decide to go for two, but this one sails, and it remains a 5-point game. That would end up being a very costly play. This game was decided by just 1 point. The Red Devils go on to win it 28-27.
Yeah, Douglas tonight, the Eagles were another team that just missed out on the playoffs, and they were hoping to finish their season with a 500 record, while North Sand Mountain, they were hoping to finish with a regular season win before their playoff matchup next week against Lexington. Early in the second half at Douglas, North Sand Mountain finds himself in a tight spot, 3rd and 11 from inside their own 1, down 38-0. Landon Keller backs up, finds Caden Gilly, who drives on for a Bison first down, but this grace under pressure doesn't last for North Sand Mountain. Douglas still leading 38-zip on the Bison 23. Kate Davis twists and turns his way to an Eagles first down, which sets up a standing keeper for another Douglas score, 44-0. At that point, they end up running away with this one at home. 45-13 is your final to end the regular season. And Max, with the regular season now officially over, we turn our attention to the playoffs. We got some great teams in action this year. We've had some great games, some big upsets. Who are you excited about to watch in the postseason this year?
Well, it might be an obvious choice here, but how could you ignore the Hartzell Tigers? They have been unbelievable. Brian Moore's squad is undefeated yet again and looking to do some damage in the playoffs. Now, that November win has eluded them in Moore's time with the Tigers, but with an offense like theirs, I really think this is the year that changes.
Yeah, another undefeated team. I'm excited to see. I want to see what Deschler can do. The Tigers have shocked all of North Alabama with their season. Patrick Malone has managed to return Deschler to their old ways. They look like those dominant teams of the 90s and 2000s as they enter the playoffs 10-0 for the first time since 2004. They've had some really good teams since then, so that's an impressive stat for sure. All right, how about we go ahead and take our third and final timeout of the show, but don't go anywhere.
Because coming up next, we share with you our Big Game Friday Night Fan of the Night presented by Premier Urgent Care.
Stay tuned for more Big Game Friday Night. Here we go!
It's the McCurry Big Game Friday Night. It's the McCurry Big Game Friday night.
All right, welcome back into Big Game Friday night, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Well, we could not do the show if it wasn't for the fans of high school football. So like every week, let's share with you our Big Game Friday Night Fan of the Night.
Hi, I'm Ellie Jones. I'm the Big Game Friday Night Fan of the Night.
All right, congratulations to Ellie Jones, our premier urgent care fan of the night. Ellie is a senior at West Morgan, and just like the football players, she's busy during the fall too. Ellie plays varsity volleyball for the Rebels, who of course competed in the state tournament this week. We'd also like to take this time to thank our radio sponsors for helping make this show possible. We could not do this show and each show all season if it was not for them. All right, how about we go ahead and wrap things up here for the Week 10 version of Big Game Friday Night. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
And be sure to tune in next week for the playoff edition of Big Game Friday Night.
We'll leave you all tonight the same way we do each week with your Big Game Friday Night top lights. Good night, everybody.
Watching a special presentation of WAAY 31 Sports.